Hey everybody, welcome back to Musicom Academy. Today's lesson is one that I'm going to do from what you just read, sent in by Lisa Branch. She did a post on the YouTube channel with a question, after I went through the hiring of creative talent. And she had a really good question, and that is, you're the new PD of a radio station, but you didn't hire the people. They're there when you walk in the door. What do you do? And in turn of that, as I started, okay, well, I'll answer that, make a good lesson. I started to think about it. It's like, wow, there's a lot of offshoots of this, which I can't do in one because we'll be here for like 2 hours on this lesson. And I don't like doing long lessons. So I'm going to break it up into a few. And the ones that came to mind, and they might even be more out of this, really. But one is, if you're the PD programming wise, what do you do? What do you look for when you walk into a new radio station? So that's one. Another one might be, I just don't know if I'll have enough information to make it worthwhile, but how do you handle a general manager? You're going to encounter a new GM that just hired you. What do you do then? How's that deal work? Because, man, that's a minefield depending on who it is. So that's a thing. And, and then in the midst of this, as you'll see as I go through today's lesson, which is what Lisa asked, an offshoot of that is firing people, and that is a lesson into itself because, firing people is, it's not an easy thing for them or for you. And, but I think there's ways to sort of make it at least bearable for everybody. So I'll go through those. But specifically for Lisa's lesson, what she wanted to know, the easy answer is what you would do is you would hire everybody mentally or not. You're going to go in and you're going to see the staff and you're going to evaluate them over some period of time, which I'll go into, and you're going to decide whether you want them or not. So it kind of, you're rehiring them again. But it's not as simple as that. It definitely is not as simple as that. Let me step back a second because I think there's two types of PDs coming into a radio station or becoming a new PD at a radio station. It really happens two ways, and almost always it'll only happen one way to you, the first way, which is what I'm going to go into first, okay, because it's the easy one. Easy one to explain, not necessarily the easy one. The first one is you're part of the staff already. You're a promotion director, you're a music director, you're one of the jocks, and it's like, hey, you could be the PD, and then throw you in, and now you're the PD, and you know everybody. Okay, so that's one way. The other way is you're coming in blind to a brand new station. You don't know anybody there. Maybe it's a whole different city. You know nothing about the city. You know nothing about the station very much. You don't know the people, and you're going to evaluate. Again, let's go back to the first one first because this is one that can trip up a lot of people, and I'm just going to give you my thoughts, and I'm going to tell you about a story that happened to me, something that happened to me in real life, how I thought about it, how I handled it, and I would beg you to do the same. I'm at CKLW, and and I thought, a PD, left, and I thought the logical person would be me to take over as PD because essentially I was sort of doing, the assistant PD's duties already. And, although no title, but I had been doing it for years, teaching the new jocks the format and all that sort of stuff. that was my job in addition to jockeying. But another person got named PD from the staff, and that person was Bill Gable. Now, Bill Gable was an incredibly good friend of mine. He lifelong friend, forever, and super close. So, I'm a bit bummed that I didn't get chosen and they gave it to Bill, but at the same time I'm happy for Bill because Bill's my friend. I'm also happy because it's not some outsider coming in who might screw the radio station up because I knew Bill wouldn't and I knew he knew what he was doing. So I got these two things going. But during that, I distinctly remember sitting back and thinking, what do I do here? He's my best friend in the radio station pretty much. But I wanted the job, okay? And this is my conclusion that I came to, and this is the way I handled it as a jock. And I would tell you, if you're in this situation as a PD, play this for your staff, for the friends that you have in the building, and I'll do the dirty work for you, okay, right this moment, okay? what struck me was that, I don't know if you can hear that air conditioner. We're in Florida at the moment. Air conditioner just kicked on because, I don't know, it's like 90 degrees out or something. Anyway, it struck me that, Bill's my friend. I have two ways to go on this. I could probably, dog it and, somewhat phone it in if I wanted to, although that's not my style, but I could. In other words, I could take advantage of Bill because he's my friend, and I knew he really wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't fire me. He wouldn't do anything crazy to me. There'd be really no repercussions to me if I took advantage of him. But, that, on the other side of that was, but this is my friend. I can't take advantage of my friend. That would suck. That would be an awful thing to do to somebody who's a close friend of mine. I don't want to put him in that position. But as a matter of fact, my thought was, this is my friend. I want to make sure that he succeeds. I'm going to do the best I can possibly do for him. Whatever he wants, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to help him along the way. I want him to succeed. So I actually ramped up farther than normal for him, okay? So I'm explaining this to you because this is the hard part. If you have friends in the radio station and you think that they're taking advantage of you, your friendship, play them this video, because the outside of that, as I've always thought this all the way through, if I ever encounter that situation again, which obviously you're never going to do that because you're only on a station once up to a PD from being a jock, I would fire them. I would tell them first, what I thought. I would play them this video now. I didn't have that luxury, but I would play them this video. So you know that you're not alone, and they know that you're not alone. And if they didn't fix themselves, I would blow them out in a heartbeat, because they're not really your friend. They may believe that they're your friend, you may think that they're your friend, but they are not your friend. So I would get rid of them, because that's a horrible thing to do to your friend, is to try to take advantage of them. So that's side number one. Side number two, you're going into a new radio station and you're the new PD. So let's just make it easy and just say it's a whole new city, and you move and you don't really know the city. You don't know the competitive environment, and you for sure probably don't know the staff, and you don't know the people. This is what I did. I did it, after about the first or second station that I went into, because there was a period where I was going into radio stations and fixing them like every 2 years, and I loved doing that. It was fun. I actually liked building radio stations and making them pop and then leaving. I kind of didn't like the type of thing where you, what's the wording? Where you keep them going. I like building. I didn't like just keeping them running. So ultimately, what I would do after I kind of learned this, pretty quickly, I would go into a radio station, and it would take me about a month, and I would not be friends with people. Now, understand that when you go in, you're the new PD, and everybody else is sort of freaking a little bit because they're not quite sure what you're going to do. So you have to be a nice person. You can't run roughshod over everybody. You have to be nice, and you have to definitely be friendly, and have conversations with everybody, which you kind of want to do anyway. You'd want to have a conversation with every single person that's going to be on your staff, and ask them about things. And I'll go into that way more detail when I do another lesson about the programming things that you would do. But just suffice to say that you want to be a nice person, and you want to be friendly, because those people are incredibly antsy about what you're going to do. So what I would do is I would take about a month. Sometimes I could do it in 3 weeks. Sometimes I could do it within a couple days. But that's pretty rare. The couple days being, I suss the staff and go, wow, this is a great staff. I don't have to do a thing. Let's get to it, guys. Boom. And off and running. But the other ones are, you're 3 weeks into it, and you're assessing the staff, and then usually at around the 3 week to 4 week mark, I would have decided who's going to stay and who's not going to stay. I would have been already looking for replacements and finding them, because you can usually know within about a week of who's going to be replaced if you need a replacement, but then it takes you a while to find people. And then I would replace them. I mean, sometimes it would be only one person, sometimes it's two. I've been in some situations where it's virtually the entire staff on and off air. I went into one place like that, and the manager pretty much told me point blank that's what he wanted to happen, because he thought pretty much everybody needed to be replaced. And for the most part, he was right. I kept some more than he wanted, but anyway, you're going to have to go through that process. This is what's important, during that period, do not get real friendly with anyone, okay? You want to be friendly, but you don't want to be super friends with, because somebody may really be trying to help you out because they're that type of person, and they're essentially going to ingratiate you with their kindness and friendship and trying to help and all that stuff. And if they're one of those people that are kind of on the line, that maybe should be let go because they're just not good enough at what they do, you're going to lean toward not doing that because now they're a friend of yours. They've broken that, whatever that barrier is of just being an acquaintance that you're nice with versus an actual friend. You want to avoid that. After you do whatever bad thing you might have to do, that's where you gather the staff together, you put everybody in a room and you say, I didn't want to do that, which you didn't, but that's kind of the business that we're in, and sometimes you have to do that. Everybody here is cool. I think you're all great. I'm not making any more changes unless somebody goes off the rails crazily, which hopefully that won't happen. So everybody take a deep breath, take a sigh of relief. Everybody here made the cut. Now we're going to go forward and build an awesome radio station. That's what I would do, and I've done that tons of times. So again, don't be friends until you decide who's not going to be there, for the long haul. Here's another one that I found out that I would never really think, but after I've encountered it like maybe 3 times, it was like, wow, this keeps occurring over and over and over again. I guess I need to address that. Staffs, and this is pretty logical really, why wouldn't they? Staffs will continue to do what the last PD told them to do until you tell them something otherwise. Now, they may be doing something that you don't like I'll make something up, like let's just say you want the call letters at the end of, coming out of a song's ending, going into commercials, you want the call letters the first thing. So you want, Kiss FM, blah, 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 blah. Or W something, blah, 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 blah. You want the letters first, but they're not doing that. And you might maybe get aggravated that some people are doing it and some people aren't, because maybe some people are anticipating what you're going to ask given the last station that you came from, and others are not. That's not their fault. It really isn't. You got to tell them. So to me, what I started to do, I would get everybody, jock meeting, everybody in the same room, and I would tell them, this is what I want. Now, let's sit down, everybody. I mean, everybody's already sitting anyway. Now, let's go through. Tell me as many policies and rules that you people know as jocks, and I'm going to go through them one by one as you throw them out and say yes or no. So, what do we got? Let's go to our room. Anything. Throw out anything. What's the last PD told you to do? Well, we're supposed to do X. Great. I like that. Keep doing that. How about this? We're supposed to do Y. No, we're not doing that anymore. Here's what I want you to do for Y. I want you to do this. Don't be doing that anymore. Go through as many things as they can possibly bring up, and also you tell them what your expectations of them are as a jock, and try to be as specific as you can, and ideally have something to hand out to them, that's going through those specifics, because again, they're nervous and they're going to probably remember half of it, or they're going to you could probably ask 6 jocks in the room, what did I just say, and you'd have 6 different answers. That's just human nature. It's the way it is. And you need to go through that, because a lot of times, being a boss has a lot of responsibility to your staff. It really does. And you got to give them a lot of slack, because a lot of times something that you might think is wrong or get aggravated with or whatever, it's actually your fault for not explaining it to them or not giving them the benefit of the doubt, that they don't know, that they're not mind readers, all of that type of stuff. Sometimes what you want the station to sound like is something that nobody really has heard before very much, and it seems to you as the PD that they can't do it, when in reality they just need some real examples. Now, you could do that with air checks, I found I've encountered this once, and I'll tell you how I handled it. I encountered it in Montreal, where in Montreal it's a pretty isolated market. There's not a lot of U.S. stations that get into the market, and you can't hear a lot of different formats. And on top of that, the city is split into French stations, which are the most stations, and then there's English stations. So obviously, I'm running an English station, in a French market. I was trying to get the jocks, to move from being an AC station up into a CHR type station with a specific style, and I couldn't really. I had a hard time getting them to do it. I'd have jock meetings. I'd go through their air checks, and it's like. They just didn't understand kind of what I was trying to do, or their mind was going in different directions, because again, audio is incredibly difficult to explain to someone. So I came to this conclusion, and this is what I did, because I had an opening that I needed to change. I hired an afternoon drive guy there who was doing exactly what I wanted the entire radio station to sound like. So, because he was already doing it at the station he was at. So I hired him, I bring him into the station, and I put him on the air, and I specifically told him, do not, under any circumstances, listen to any radio station in this market until I tell you to, and do not listen to our radio station until I tell you to. I want you to get on the air and do your show as if you're back at the last radio station, doing this format and doing what I tell you to do formatic-wise. Don't listen to any other radio station. So I put him on the air. He starts to do his show, and then one by one, because I didn't want to embarrass everybody in a jock meeting, one by one I told everybody else, listen to the afternoon drive guy. That's what I want you to do. Do not listen to any of the other jocks on our radio station, and don't listen to any jocks on the rest of the radio stations in the market, okay? I want you to only listen to him. It took about 3 days max, and I could hear the other jocks on the station start to change pretty fast, because now they have a frame of reference. They have something they can copy, and and copying is easy. Almost any jock can copy really quickly. And I'd say by the end of the week, everybody's kind of hitting stride on their own, and they're morphing into their own style, doing what I wanted. And at that point, it's like, we're good. This is awesome. This station is smoking now. And we went from there. So if you encounter that, and you're able to do it, do it. Here's another one. Sometimes you're going to be faced with a situation where you want to fire somebody because they're just not up to par. You need to fire them. You try to fire them, and the GM is giving you pushback. They don't want to do it, but they won't tell you why, really, or they'll give you some lame reason, and it's not the real reason. As a GM, I just want to tell you this. Well, first off, as a PD, I've seen this go on a bunch of times, and I know firsthand. I'll give you the GM version of this, from deep inside, that as a PD or a jockey, you would never ever know that this goes on. One of the reasons they're going to try to stop you is the severance pay. So let's say somebody's going to be, getting maybe 50 grand, maybe it's 100 grand. The general manager is going to be incredibly reluctant to have that hit the bottom line, because when you budget at the start of your fiscal year, you would budget for a severance, okay? If you think people are going to you'll be let go. So let's just say this usually happens primarily when a company takes over a new radio station. They'll assess the people ahead of time, and they might think like, okay, I got 6 people to let go. The total severance of that is going to be, I'll make this up, $300,000, and they will budget it in on their first budget. Then stuff can happen. It's not a problem. But if you get hired in the middle of a year, or even worse, if you get hired around the end of a year being a fiscal budget, okay, and let's say the budget ends like maybe 3 months from now when you get hired, or 2 months from now, that manager is really going to push you, but they're not going to tell you. They're going to give you pushback, because they don't want the severance to hit the bottom line. Because severance, if it's not budgeted for, becomes an expense. It's just like you went out and bought 6 cars for some reason, and it drops to the bottom line. It takes away the profit of the radio station. Now, what does that cause for the GM? Well, usually a couple things. One, the station might miss budget, which would be really, a ton of bricks falls down on the GM. That's one. But here's what also happens, and I've seen this as a PD happen. I've never done it because I just thought it was a shitty thing to do. But I've seen it where a general manager won't do it because a lot of GMs get bonus for different rungs of profit. So you hit budget, you get this, this bonus, and it's part of their salary, really. You hit the budget, you get a bonus. If you go over by 5%, maybe you're 10%, you get another bonus. If you go up a little bit higher than that, you're having a banner year, you get another bonus. So there might be one, two, three bonuses. They may be right on the edge of getting either the budget bonus or a second bonus or a third bonus, and they don't want to miss it. And it's incredibly selfish of them to think that way, but they won't let you fire someone because they're not going to get that bonus. It's a purely selfish, I want my money, I don't care about how you run the station as a programmer. That's kind of what comes into play. So you, more than likely at some point in your programming career, you will run into that. And it sucks, it really does. The bottom line for all of this is you're going to be stuck with people that maybe you don't want or you think are not all that good or whatever, and you're going to have to work with them. It's as simple as that. That's your job as a PD. You're going to have to teach people. You're going to have to improve people. You're going to have to try to bring up some skills that they don't have or they're weak at, bring them up a little bit and improve greatly the skills that they are good at. Let me just tell you, let me back up a little bit. Peter Drucker is the guy who invented management. Before then people would manage, but there was never any name to it. And he was a consultant for every major company in the world at one point. He's the father of it all. Every MBA and every stuff, anything you learn in school, it came from that guy. Okay, and he would do experiments with staff and things like that. What he found was, when you have people in a staff, you need to amplify, this is big, amplify what they're good at and do not super dwell on what they're bad at. Now, if it's something that's they're bad at, it's wrecking the radio station, okay, well then you got to deal with it. If it's something that's, okay, it's not critical, you wish they were better at it, maybe you can find somebody else to kind of prop that end up. Usually it's just things that, irritate people, but they're not the end of the world. But the primary thing you need to do with people is figure out what they're good at and try to make them insanely great at it, because it makes them feel good. If you concentrate on what they're weak at, they sort of shut down because all you're doing is giving them negative, oh man, I can never do anything right for this guy. Where meanwhile, it could be a really tiny things that you're constantly harping about, and the other stuff that is gigantic that they're good at, you're ignoring. So concentrate on the good stuff. So, you need to help them and teach them and all of that stuff. And for many people, and if you're a jock listening and your PD is doing this to you, it's actually that they're trying to help you, not that they're hindering you. And if you're a PD watching this right now, your PD might be sort of doing what I'm about to describe to you, but they're really trying to help you, even though you may not like it or you think there's some other thing going on here. As a PD, you want to try to help everybody and be as good as they can, but there's going to be some people that aren't going to be able to do what you want them to do at the level that you want them to, but they're not bad. So you have to make allowances for that. And some of the allowances might be, simple example, you might cut down their talk time. You might start adding a little bit more imaging than you would with somebody else, a different show. You might start making their breaks shorter and shorter because you're trying to, shield the audience from somebody who's a weak on-air person. You want to get them to talk enough, but talk less so they don't, put their foot in their mouth and that type of stuff. Another thing you might want to do is, sit down with them a pretty fair amount and maybe brainstorm how they're planning their show in the beginning before they ever go on the air. You basically show prep and, and help them kind of work through it all. So let me give you an example of that. Believe me, this is going to be a pain for a PD, but hopefully you'll only have to do it maybe with one person, maybe with two. When I first got I think I mentioned this on one of the lessons, maybe I didn't, I don't remember, because I do a lesson, then I cut a ton of it out for time. And so a lot of times I can't remember, did I put that in the lesson or do I cut it out? Anyway, but I'll do it again here. When I first got the CKLW in the big time, I had a binder And you know, one of those loose leaf binders that you pop the thing out and you can stick pages in and close it up again. And it was A to Z, and I had it for artists. And because I didn't want to be on the air and not know what to say, because there was so much going on that I had to learn. Never worked with an op before, board op, and in another room, and format was like super tight and crazy. So my answer for that, and it would be an answer for somebody who's kind of weak on the air, and puts their foot in their mouth and goes off on tangents and doesn't know how to get out of it. If you have one of those people on your staff, is I would take somebody, let's say like Billy Joel, and I would go through the Gold Book, and you can go to the music director and go, what Billy Joel songs are we playing here? Okay? And, okay, these 6, great. I would sit down at home, no pressure, and I would write out every possible thing I could say with "it's still rock and roll to me." I would do, okay, I can say this, I can say this, I can say this, I can say this, I can say this. Next song, boom, 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 boom. And so, when a Billy Joel song was coming up, because I could see on the, on the playlist that's going to be done a day ahead of time, I'd look, I got, hey, Billy Joel, I got, I don't know, You May Be Right, let's just say that's the song, yeah. I'd go to the book, okay, You May Be Right, all right, oh yeah, I'll do that. So it's show prep, and you know ahead of time what you're going to do. You might want to go through that with one of your jocks, to get them to sort of do something along that realm, so that on those times where you do allow them to talk, which is maybe less than normal, they're going to sound really good, because they know where they're going from beginning to end. And you might go like, whoa, that was a good break. Do it again. By the way, that was a pretty good break too. They may start doing really good breaks, and then you could open them back up again, and maybe add another talk thing in, pull an imaging thing out, let them go over an intro, and all of a sudden maybe probably take maybe 4 months if they're going to embrace all that and improve well. It might take about 4 months, and all of a sudden you got somebody that you're not concerned about anymore, and they're really, really good. So bottom line for all of this is you're going to have to work at it. But these are things that I believe I've encountered them so many times, and you're going to encounter those if you're the new PD. So I hope you got something out of that, and I hope it helped you. We're pushing now for, I don't know, what's a good goal this time for subscribers? I mean, last time I looked, I was at 468 subscribers. Be nice to get to 475. Ultimately, I'd love to get to 500. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I really appreciate it. And as always, hit the bell, and hit the likes and all that YouTube type stuff. Really appreciate you watching. Until the next lesson, see ya.